Yes, this is Major History, and I think the world is watching as I am how events may unfold in the Middle East in regards to the ongoing confrontation Israel, Iran, between Israel and Iran and its proxies, and its regional proxies, Hezbollah and the Houthis in Yemen and so forth. My assessment is that there's a likelihood of a response, a counterattack against Iran for its recent missile attacks in Israel within the next 24 to 48 hours, um, at the very latest by the end of next week. Um, and I do think that there's a likelihood of them hitting several targets, and I will number them in from most likely to the least probable. Probably in the first on their target list would be the launching sites where the Iranians sent their missiles and drones in their latest attack. Next to that, um, next likely targets will be the command and control centers, which order the attacks, along with the personnel associated with them. After that would be the petroleum refining and export facilities along the Persian Gulf and other areas. Uh, the least likely targets would be the nuclear facilities because it would be much harder to hit, and plus the collateral damage that may be involved in striking at them. And also, I do not think they would be targeting sites in the holy cities for the Iranian Shiites in Qom, city of Qom and Mashhad. But I do not exclude them targeting some of the leadership of in the military sector charged with prosecuting the attacks against Israel. So this all has to play out in the coming days. I do think that the response and also counter response from Iran is a high probability of occurring. And I think the Israeli dilemma lies in the fact that they feel a need to counterattack, but they have to measure against the what would be the fallout from such a counterattack. So their response will have to be appropriate and commensurate with the attacks that they had incurred a few days ago, without overstepping and provoking a response that would be counterproductive to their own interests and the region as a whole. So that's my assessment, and as I said before, we'll have to see. And in the short term how this whole confrontation will play out. Thank you. This is a major history, and got word the other day that the deputy mayor of New York had resigned, and deputy mayor joins a long list of New York administration officials, including the head of the school department and police commissioner, among others, who have resigned before and after Mayor Eric Adams' indictment on several federal charges. And Mayor Adams has repeatedly protested his innocence, vowed to fight it out in court, and resisted calls, growing demands from several quarters in his own party to step down from office, but not including the governor of New York, Governor Hochul, who has thus far refrained from doing so. So it's my belief that the handwriting is on the wall for Mayor Eric Adams, and I'm not, weighing in on his guilt or innocence with the charges he's been indicted on, innocent and proved guilty. But this growing list of individuals who have departed his administration make it very unlikely that he will be able to govern New York, city of 8.5 million people, effectively with the growing departure of individuals in his administration and with his time tied up in court. And we have all heard this before from various indicted office holders protesting vigorously and rigorously their innocence and vowed to fight to uphold their good name, then suddenly have to abruptly depart. And this might very well be an outcome in the Adams administration, because very difficult to govern a city like that, like New York, with massive resignations in key departments. Notwithstanding his innocence or guilt, it just becomes not practical to continue governing effectively with turmoil in his administration. So the situation bears watching, and I'll continue with my updates and see what the final outcome will be. But I personally, I can't recall any time in history of New York City, where the mayor's office has been engulfed by such a cloud of uncertainty and legal uh, turmoil. Not since the days of the Jimmy Walker administration in the 1920s, where Mayor Walker ultimately forced to vacate his office in the wake of accusations of corruption and so forth. So we'll see what happens in the near future. Thank you. Yes, this is major history, and I don't know if this would be of interest to anybody but myself, but I'll put it out there anyway. I don't know if you have seen, as I have, these young men on the trains or on a public transportation, usually with ties and white shirts, uh, usually young white guys, normally from the Midwest, promoting or inviting you to attend their services at the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, also known as the Mormons. And I've encountered them many times in passing. And I've always wondered about, how how this religion got started. Actually, Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is one of the newest world religions, along with the Baha'i religion, which started in Iran, also known as Persia. And they both got started around the same time, the mid-19th century. Um, Joseph Smith, here in the United States in upstate New York, said he was privy to revelations, uh, divine revelations, and the prophet of the Baha'i, also called the Bab, also claimed they had got divine inspiration. And ironically, both these self-described prophets met violent deaths at the hand of the authorities, and both these groups, the Baha'is and the Mormons, suffered widespread persecution and harassment by the authorities in power in their respective countries, leading to the death of Joseph Smith and also the prophet of the Baha'is in Iran. So it's a curious paradox of history that both these religions got started around the same time in the mid-19th century, the Mormons and the Baha'is. And there are other interesting parallels as well, because they both start as an offshoot or of their respective faith, deemed as heretical as or apostate by the authorities and judges as such. But both have survived to this day. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and the Baha'i religion in Iran and elsewhere. So just curious, maybe just coincidence of history that these religions got started approximately the same time. But just some thoughts that may just food for thought, and may or may not be of interest. But be as it may. Thank you. Yes, major history. And I just discovered amazing and somewhat disturbing news today. The erstwhile former KK leader, David Duke, has just today endorsed for president Miss Jill Stein of the Green Party, ostensibly because of her stand against Israel and the Gaza Strip, and she stands in the way of Jewish hegemony and Jewish power in that area regionally and worldwide. And this strikes me as being very unusual and at first perplexing. But here, this fellow, David Duke, a lifelong anti-Semite, vigorously promoted theories about uh, the Jewish monolith and neo-Nazi propaganda, endorses Jill Stein, who happened to be Jewish. But having said that, there's always been like a common point of agreement between the far left and the extreme right. Many of them espouse anti-Semitic and anti-Jewish conspiracy theories. So this is nothing new. But why would David Duke at this particular time endorse Jill Stein for president in his current presidential election when David Duke had previously endorsed Donald Trump, a Republican, 2016 and 2020? Well, Donald Trump has said recently that people should support uh, third-party candidates like Jill Stein and Dr. Cornel West. He said they would be 100% helpful to him. So to me, this is just a ploy on David Duke's part to draw votes away from the Democrats and to help Donald Trump, knowing full well he knows as well as anybody else that both Jill Stein and Cornel West don't have a chance in hell of winning. And looking back at David Duke's history, we find that a lot of his endeavors and motivation has been motivated by self-aggrandizement and opportunistic money-making ventures. He had authored back many years ago under alias first name Dorothy, a how-to book, uh, pointers for women to find mates, and including sexual and intimate advice. He also had wrote a book, also how to do yourself book for, paradoxically enough, for black militants. Uh, a book, instructional manual on urban guerrilla warfare, rioting, and general hell raising. And obviously, he thought these ventures would make money and fill up his pockets, regardless of the consequences. So looking back at that, to me, the obvious motivation, inducement for him making his move is financial. Because what was his motive for writing these books? Money. And what would be his motivation for uh, getting votes, potentially, uh, for these third party candidates, which might benefit Trump? I would say the motivation is, again, money. And where might that money be coming from? Well, I'll give you one guess. It'll probably come from a person whose name you hear in the news every day. And, well, hush my mouth. You got it right. It's more likely somebody running for office. That's my theory, and it it well may be a possible motivating factor for David Duke, as his past history is very instructive in that vein. So that's my take on it, and we'll just see uh, what develops from that. Thank you. This is Major History, and I was recently viewing a lecture by a Christian professor of religion, and he had a lecture on the similarities between Jehovah's Witnesses and Islam. Similarities that actually I either wasn't aware of or didn't pay attention to. So I decided to delve into it a little bit more. And I found some interesting parallels between Jehovah's Witnesses and the religion of Islam that the professor pointed out, and other similarities I was able to discover. Uh, Number one is both these religions believe in monotheism, as the worship of one God with no additional gods or parallel gods. And both Jehovah's Witnesses and the Islamic religion reject the idea or the doctrine of a triune God or the Trinity. that there are three persons in the Godhead. They believe in a unified or Unitarian God. That's the belief that they both share. Also, the Jehovah's Witnesses believe that the true and only name, original name of God is Jehovah, or variations thereof, Jehovah. And the Muslims believe that God has only one true and proper name, Allah in Arabic. Similar concepts and in their beliefs. Also, both the Jehovah's Witnesses and the Muslim tend to follow or do follow a code of dress with their adherents, a different type of dress, but a code of dress nonetheless, where their followers are authorized or enjoined to follow. That's one. That's another similarity, and they both tend to reject secular entertainment and worldly entertainment and so forth. That's something they also share in their beliefs. And, certain cultural practices that they, similar but different type of cultural practices. The Jehovah's Witnesses do not observe holidays. And it's like Muslims do not observe Christmas. They do not observe Christmas because, number one, they do not believe the Jehovah's Witnesses in the divinity of Christ as the Muslims do. They believe in Christ as the Son of God, but not divine or sharing the same divinity as Jehovah God. So there's similarities. Similarity does not necessarily mean the same, but I find that these are some interesting parallels that I was not previously aware of. It's just food for thought on my part. Anyway, thank you.